Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir. No, sir.
No, sir, we cannot hear you.
Yeah, can you guys hear me now?
Sir,
Yes, sir.
yes, sir.
So WebEx has some kind of old rivalry with me. I'm not sure. Some kind of problem with me. It simply ceases to work at a very inconvenient time.
Same, same,
Anyhow,
same.
yeah. Anyhow, so yeah. So attendance is enabled, guys. I'm not sure. I have to actually restart my Chrome, so a lot of things probably went away. But it is already started, so you can mark your attendance. And okay, so this is we are going to discuss lecture 3.2 today. There are some rectifications in lecture 3.1 that I have done. Actually, at that time when I created that lecture, there are so many mistakes in that lecture. Um I was, I was so overloaded with work, but I have rectified it and I have put it there. So we today we will talk about lecture 3.2. So any shepherds, any volunteers for shepherding? So lecture 3.2 is on arrays, by the way. So any shepherds?
Sir, can you give a recap of last class? Actually, I was not present. Just
Uh,
a short recap.
so who would like to give the recap? Someone, someone, any of the previous shepherds can also do that. Someone can do that. Come on, anyone? No one is there to give a recap. So essentially, we discussed the concept of code blocks. So a code block is essentially any set of statements that are written between a pair of braces, and we use these code blocks at multiple places in programming. So for example, if we are writing a particular function, a procedure, we write it in a code block. Code blocks can be hierarchical, so within a code block you can have another code block and another code block like this. um, Another thing that we discussed was the concept of the if condition in programming, where you essentially write a particular condition and you provide another code block right after the condition. If the condition is true, the control, whatever statements are there inside the code block, they are executed. The control enters that particular code block. Otherwise, it will not go inside if. You also have an option to provide an else statement. So the idea is that the control will either go inside the if or inside the else, um, but not both. This is the idea. So this was the other thing that we discussed. um, okay, I think this was pretty much it. This was from the lecture 3.1. uh, yes, yes, I am going to talk about code rush towards the end of the lecture. Okay, I can probably start. Uh, so basically, there is a competition that is organized by Geeks for Geeks. So Geeks for Geeks is a very common website. In fact, when I give you these links for additional additional knowledge, and sometimes during your homework, when I give you links, I'm not sure how many of you have realized that they are from some standard websites which people use to learn programming concepts. So Geeks for Geeks is just one of those websites. They are very helpful in and they are uh, organizing I think this is a new chapter. I'm not sure whether it is a new chapter or they have just become, whether it is an existing chapter. I'm not sure about that, but basically they have a chapter in Triple IT Lucknow, and these guys are organizing a coding contest. From what I understand, they want the first year guys to participate. The idea is that you'll get some idea of how programming contests work. I understand that if you are new to programming, you might be you might feel a bit intimidated that how can I go and write code. The idea is at least go and participate. Okay, have a look at what programs do they ask for. I'm assuming that if they say they are going to be beginner friendly, then I hope that they really would be beginner friendly. They have asked me to be the faculty in charge, and I have said yes because, frankly, I really don't know what is my role as of now. They contacted me yesterday, and I was really happy to be a part of any such coding event. So I have said yes. I still don't know what will be my what do they expect from me. But yeah, if they need any help from me, I will be there. The idea is make this as a hobby. Let me be very frank. The reason I chose to be a computer science engineer was because programming was my hobby. Okay, and I'm not kidding. Programming used to be my hobby at 10 plus 2 level, and that is why I chose to be a computer science engineer. Now I understand that hobbies are not something that you can simply pick up, right? You can't make something as your hobby if you don't like it. But the idea is you should because from a professional perspective, it is important that you do a lot of coding. um, you know these events, they can somehow make it more like a game. Okay, so the idea is to make programming a bit more fun than some kind of academic requirement. So if you start participating in such events, actually, it would have been much better if you guys were there at the campus. Usually, these programming contests and these hackathons, they're really fun. You code the whole night. There's a lot of food around, pizza and Red Bull and Coca-Cola. Uh, so Sanskriti, there's a student, Shweta Singh. She was the one who contacted me. Frankly, as I said, I don't really know what exactly will they be doing. I agreed because I have no issues, right? I mean, I would like to. I have no problems in being their faculty advisor. It's just that I have very little idea of what they are planning to do. They just contacted me yesterday itself. Somewhere in the evening, I replied and I said, "Yeah, sure, I have no issues." Um, but I don't really know what is the plan. They have mentioned in the email that they'll be beginner friendly, so I'm assuming that the programs, at least some of the programs, you should be able to do. um, but in any case, right, please attend the contest, and you already know how to write algorithms, right? So sometimes algorithms can be extremely abstract. You can write a 3 line algorithm. Okay, take input, process inputs, and give the output. That is also an algorithm. The idea is, try to look at the questions that they give. Even if you're not able to write actual code, at least write some pseudo code. Okay, and maybe if you would like, I'll be happy to have a look at some of the pseudo codes you guys write. Okay. So the idea is you inculcate a habit. uh, I Okay, let me check the email. I guess the
Uh,
yeah, yeah, go ahead, somebody was saying anything.
sir, in which we have to code, sir? C, C++, or Python, or something.
Usually they are open to multiple languages.
I
um,
guess it's Java, C++, C, Python. Yeah, three
uh,
languages, I guess.
okay. Usually these contests are so Sanskriti, there is a link in the email that they have sent. There is a contest link, so I guess you can go and register yourself. Yeah, I also just opened up that email.
There are
um,
sample challenges also.
yeah, so as I said, I even though I am the faculty advisor, I really don't have much knowledge of what their plans are. I did tell them that if they need any help from my side, I'm fine with it. But as of now, they haven't asked for any help. So I assume that they all know what they are doing. um, but the idea is, if you guys, participation is a very nice thing. You should always participate in these things. As I said, it's a bit sad that you guys are not in the campus. Otherwise, it's fun to do these hackathons and codathons where there will be, you'll code the whole night. You'll eat pizzas and drink Red Bull and Coke. Unfortunately, because you're at home, you can't get that experience. But they should actually plan some kind of fun activities in between as well. I'll talk to Shweta. They should try to have some kind of games, just to keep you guys a bit more interested. But yeah, this is the idea that keep on attending these hackathons, these codathons, and you learn something from everything, right? I mean, even if you are not able to code, as I said, nobody is asking you. This is not an academic requirement, right? So it's not like if you can't code, you won't get marks. But attend it. If you can't write code, at least write some pseudocode. Share it with your friends. You say that this is because, see, this is what I'm trying to teach you. I'm trying to teach you the art of programming. I'm not really trying to teach you C. I'm trying to, especially for those who are beginners. Um, I want you guys to understand this art. Okay, how can you teach someone painting, for example? Uh, you know, you can teach that person what are the different types of brushes, what are the different types of papers, what are the different types of paints. But you can't really teach them, how to paint. That they have to learn over a period of time. So that is what I'm currently doing. I'm just telling you the different skills that people who program a lot have, and then you have to practice these skills on your own. So these codathons are places where you can do these practices. Okay. Anyhow, I will also give you guys. I'm planning to. It depends on how busy I am. I do plan to give you guys a practice set of some programs. Okay, this is not something that I will evaluate. It will be for your own practice. So I'll probably prepare a one-page mm, practice set where I'll ask you to write certain programs. Oh, no, this is how I learned programming. So I don't know if any one of you have any other ways of learning, which has been successful with you. But when I learned programming, there was there were no apps, the learning apps that we have these days. I don't know how good they are, whether they can teach you programming better. But during my time, I just learned programming like this. I used to come up with examples in my head that I want to write something like this, and then I will start writing code for it. In the beginning, it used to be very inefficient code. But so for example, if I knew only if conditions, I will try to write everything using ifs and without any else, something like this. This is how I learned. So that is the idea, that the practice set will be something where I'll give you some programs. You're not supposed to submit them. They are not going to be evaluated as such, as it is. But if you sit down and try to write those programs, and the best thing is that in programming world, you can actually evaluate your own work. Okay, you give the input, and if the output is correct, then you have done it correctly. If the output is incorrect, you have messed up, right? So that is the best thing with programs. They are basically self-validating. So if you are able to write the program, you've succeeded. Otherwise, you have to still work. Okay, so yeah, so this was about CodeFest. Let's then start with the lecture today. Um, yeah, attendance is already enabled, Rishi. You can mark it. It's open right now. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so guys, this is something that you have to understand, that most probably one night before the lecture, I will send you a mail where there will be a link for a form. I still haven't figured out what is the best way to take attendance. Um, this is the best solution I have come up with as of now. Um, if we were all on the Google Meet platform, maybe there are some nice apps for Google Classroom that can do this. But because half of the stuff is on Google, so our courses drive folder is on Google, and we have to do these things on WebEx. Somebody did tell me that there is an option in WebEx to take attendance, but I'm not using that. um, so I'm simply, because the all the data that I get, it is collected at one place. And towards the end of your course, or maybe before midsem also, I will share all the attendance sheets that I have collected till now. Okay, so you can, in theory, uh, check what days you were absent, what days you were present. For those of you who send me emails, I simply add them manually. So I write the term manual in the sheet. And by the way, I receive at least 1 dozen emails every day just for putting attendances. Okay, so guys, be a bit more careful. I see. I'm happy to reply to all your mails, but you understand that these are just overhead on my already overloaded schedule that I have to put your attendances. So please try your best to mark them during the lecture. I keep them open, I think, up to 15-20 minutes even after when the lecture is over. So try to mark it within that time frame. Anyhow, so let us start. So it's not this week's actual learning is not that much. So we can afford a bit more time. So any shepherds, volunteers, those people who have not done it before. Any volunteers? No. Okay. That is strange. Usually I get. Okay, I've said those who have not done before. That is why I get a lot of requests from the guys who have already done it, guys and girls. But anyone who has not done it before who would like to do this? See, otherwise I'll pick up. I'll start picking up names. Okay. So if you are a smart class, you should keep everyone who's ready before the lecture. So you guys should pick up on your WhatsApp forum. You guys that you are the shepherd, you are the shepherd. Either decide it beforehand or I'll start picking randomly. Yeah. So there is some person I can only see your roll number. Uh, LIT 20. Okay, Yash. Why does it show your okay, anyhow. So Yashvardhan, have you been a shepherd before? Ah, great. So Yash is one. There is one more, just a minute. Ashleysha, have you been a shepherd before? Acha, okay. So Yash, you also have a task. Whomsoever are the shepherds today, collect their names and send me an email after the lecture. Okay, so this is your
Okay.
responsibility. Okay, and Tejas, have you been a shepherd before?
No, sir.
So Tejas is third, Ashleysha is second. Any more volunteers? I will pick one randomly, but any more volunteers? I can afford one more. Okay, so I'll pick two then, one from IT and one from CS. So what is this? CS2. Uh, okay, it looks like I've recited each one of these names at least once. So I'm just trying to find a name that I have not recited before. Uh, Konam Akhil Vamshi. Konam Akhil Vamshi. Are you there? Okay. Ravi Maurya.
Yes,
Ravi
sir.
Maurya.
Yes,
So
yes,
are
sir.
you there? Okay, so okay, you are one of the shepherds.
Okay.
Okay, so Yash, he's the Yashvardhan. He's the fifth one. Sorry, he's the fourth one. I need one more. I need one more from Anurag. Have you been shepherd before? Yeah, so Anurag is one. Okay, so Ravi, Anurag, Ashleysha, Tejas, and Yashvardhan. These are your shepherds for today. Let me share the screen. Okay, how do I become the presenter? Oh, okay. Can anyone figure out who's the presenter right now? Because I left it.
Akansha.
Hi, Akansha. Please make me the presenter. Akansha, are you there? Acha, how? Okay. You'll have to go to the participants tab, on the bottom right, and then you have to find my name, and then there will be some three dots that will come in front of my name. Oh, thank you. See, you learned something. Okay. Share. But I think Google Meet allows even non-presenters to share screen, right? I mean, I'm just
Yes.
right? So
Yes,
this is why,
sir.
yeah, this is why this thing is junk. Anyhow, okay. So these are the questions today, guys. I actually added some more things because we had these discussions. I'll just remove this. You can start with the first question, guys.
Does anyone want to start or should I start? Okay, I guess I'll start.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, so I think uh, you've all heard the term array. Yeah, basically in real world as well, array is just a collection of certain types of items. In programming, it's basically the same. Array is like a set of variables that have the same data type. Okay, is that clear to everyone?
An array
Okay,
only contains, similar type of variables. Like if you are having integer as an input, you cannot float there. Only integers are going to be in that array. So I think it's clear to everyone. That is what we are trying to say by, yeah, they just continue.
okay.
If
So
anyone
the question, oh, sorry.
yeah, go ahead. So if anyone has any queries, if you are still not sure about what an array is, this is the time to ask. So I guess it is clear. We can move to the next question.
Okay, so to continue the question, we are asking how it is different from other variables. I mean, if you just want a collection of variables of the same type, you can declare like multiple variables. So in arrays, basically, the difference between arrays and random variables is if you declare a lot of variables, they'll be stored in random places at the memory. Okay, you remember that diagram from the first class? That Sir showed. It had 16 little boxes, right? Um, if you declare random variables, they'll be stored in random boxes. But if you declare an array, it will be stored in a contiguous block. Basically, that just means it will be stored in one big block and it can be accessed just by knowing where the first element is. Also, you can access the elements of the array sequentially with an index. If anyone has any doubts on that, please ask.
So I guess there is some issue with either WebEx or your connection. I'm not sure. So was Tejas clear to everyone? Whatever he just said.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So maybe it's me and my old rivalry with WebEx.
Yes,
So
Vanshdeep, array indexing begins from 0. It actually depends on the kind of language. Actually, most of those languages have indexing starting from 0. So, okay, no problem.
any more queries? What is array?
What is the syntax for creating an array?
Okay, right. So declaring an array, it's basically like declaring a normal variable, right? You first you have to specify the data type so the computer knows what you're actually storing, and then after you've specified the data type, you have to write the name of your array. Basically, all the elements of the array will have a common name. So you write that name, and then within the square braces, not the parentheses, not the curly braces, the square braces, you write the size of the array. Basically, when you declare the array, you have to declare the size itself. You can't have an array of 5 elements and then later extend it to 10. You have to make an array of 10 elements from the start.
Can we have white spaces in arrays?
Basically, white space is like a character. If you have an character array, then yes, you can have white space in that. But if you have an integer array, of course, you can't really
You
have a
can.
white space.
Can we join two arrays?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Can we join two different arrays?
Okay, so like I just said before, arrays have a predetermined size, right? If you already declared your array to be big enough to store both arrays, elements of both the arrays, then yes, there are ways to do that. Otherwise, you'll have to declare a third array. Um, Basically, if
Okay,
anyone has any
understood.
doubts regarding arrays, you should ask them right now because arrays will be very useful for you when you program in the future.
What will be the output of an array 1 plus array 2? If array 1 has some elements and array 2 has some elements, will the elements get added or something else will
You
happen?
you have to specify the element. Array 1 plus array 2 is not in valid syntax. It will show an error. You have to specify the index about which you are talking.
Okay, okay.
Yes, so like
Like,
Yashvardhan said, you have to specify the individual elements that you're adding. Basically, we studied the adding operator. It's a binary operator. It only takes two integers, right? An array is not an integer, so you can't directly add two arrays.
like if you have to add the first element of first array and the third element of second array, then you have to write it like array first, 0 in the square braces, and then addition operator, and then array second, 2 in the square braces.
Thank you.
Can we perform any arithmetic operations between two arrays
Okay,
or
basically,
any
you
kind of
can't
other
really
operation?
perform arithmetic operations.
Between
You'll have to specify the individual elements. Array is like a collection, right? You can't add one collection to another, I guess, if that makes any sense. You have to specify like
like
this
like
element of this array.
array is just like a group collection. If you are talking about an integer array, then it is just like a collection of numbers, so collection of integers specifically. So if you are not going to do any arithmetic operation between two group of numbers, you have to specify which number you are talking about. So you can specify the index and then you can just add them. Hello.
Okay, any more doubts by anyone?
Any more doubts?
Uh, if an array size is 10 and if I only insert 5 elements in it, will it occupy space for the next 5 empty elements or not? Or will it just
Uh, I, I
There will
Yes,
think
be
it
at
5
any
occupies
elements
point in
only?
your,
space.
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, I think it will occupy space, but those variables will not have any meaningful values that we can use.
Yes, like Ravi said, basically array is just like a variable, right? You can change any of the elements at any point in your program, but if you don't give them an initial value, they'll just have random garbage values.
Hmm.
And what about if we put 11 values in 10 size array?
It will show an error.
It will show an error, definitely. Okay.
Like if you have defined the size to be 10, you can place a 11th element.
Any more questions, anyone? Or should we? Okay, okay, sir.
I'm sorry,
So
can
any
another
more
shepherd take this question? I'll be right back.
So can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay, okay. So I have some difficulties in hearing you all. I hope that you guys are able to hear each other. That is all I want. So yeah, we can move to the next question. If you guys have any queries, please ask right now. I can see a few more queries which are interesting, like why does the array index start from 0? So Nitik, yeah, you will come to know the answer to this question after we have read pointers. And Akansha, the array index doesn't start from -1 for the same reason. Once we realize why do they start from 0, you will understand that why -1 doesn't make any sense. So once we have read pointers, you will understand why it starts from 0. Okay. But for now, just assume that they start from 0. Vectors,
Prerak, sorry,
yeah, go ahead.
you want to answer?
Someone should answer this if you know. Otherwise, I have not talked about vectors in the lecture, so the shepherds are fine to say I don't know. But if you guys know, you can answer.
Okay, so Prerak, vectors are basically arrays, but you can do a lot of stuff with them that you can't do with arrays. And there are a lot of predefined library functions for them. Basically, vectors are very convenient because you can resize them and everything, but they use pointers, and that's something we haven't studied yet. So for now, we're going to stay with vectors, sorry, arrays, but just know that vectors will be very useful for you in the future. Can a different shepherd take the second question, please? I'll be right back.
So the question is it about get putes and getes, right? Sanskriti's question. Yeah, any shepherd, no, putes and getes. What exactly is
Yes.
the question, Sanskriti?
What so?
So what exactly is your question? You have written putes and getes and
So
then space.
I didn't understand about what is putes and getes.
Okay, so please explain anyone who understands what do getes and putes do.
Well, getters actually scans a string. Like you can use getters to uh, add a value to a string variable in C, and the put as function is used to print the string which is already defined.
Can you elaborate it more?
Like you when you have to take an input from the user and as a variable in a string, you can use get as. You can just write the name of first you have to define the string variable, then you can just use get as, write the name of the variable between the parentheses, and it will take an input from the user, and put as is used to print the output the string.
Can we use scanf to get a string?
So it is like a scanf
Okay,
and
so
Yes.
printf.
getters and putters are a little bit different from scanf. Basically, in C, strings are not a native data type, right? They are just character arrays. So let's say you want to store a 5-letter word, but you declare a 10-letter array, right? Last 5 letters will have random garbage values, and that's a problem for normal input and output statements. So what getS and putS do, they insert a special backslash 0 character at the end of your string when you input it, and they check for it when you output it. So basically, the garbage values at the end don't get inputted or outputted. That's why we have to use getS and putS. Basically, it's a little bit, I guess, complicated, but if you use scanf and printf with strings in C, that's going to cause problems. So we define special functions for that. That's basically what they are.
So putes and gettes are only for strings.
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
Yes, it is only for strings, and there is one more point that I would add.
Sir, can
What
I
is? Go ahead. Sorry,
a point?
I should. Yeah, go ahead.
So the difference is actually in scanf we can enter. For example, my name is Anurag Vats. So if we use scanf, then only that will input Anurag. And if I give it a space, it will end there. And in getters, I can input my whole name. Any
Okay, so
other doubt?
yeah, let me just elaborate a little more on Anurag. So essentially, the problem with scanf is that scanf actually divides your input into tokens. Okay, and the most common tokenizer, with the help of which it divides inputs into tokens, is the space character, right? So basically, the moment you actually type, let us say Anurag space Vats, scanf feels that your string is only Anurag and what's is probably meant for the next variable, right? Remember, in scanf you can input multiple variables in the same line. So the problem with scanf is the moment you type a space, scanf cannot really differentiate whether it is the same variable or it is for the next variable. So if you want to input a string that is going to have spaces as well, you use something like getters. Okay, as of now the only function is getters. It's not the best function to use because there are some safety issues with getters. But yes, this is the idea of using getters, that you basically you can take inputs. um, uh, can we input in scanf? Yes, you can, Prerak. So basically you'll have to simply do a enter. Okay, if you simply press enter, then it will become an empty string. Okay, so that is possible.
So, but the space is also one of the characters. So why it does not count it?
Right, so that is the point. This is how scanf has been written. Okay, this is scanf's behavior. So let me write this here. If I write something like this, scanf %d and a. So this is one statement, and then immediately I write this statement. Okay, so I have these two statements one after the other. So now when the program runs, I can either type something like this: 5 enter, 6 enter. So 5 will go to A and 6 will go to B, or I can write something like this: 5 space 6 enter. Okay, scanf will still be able to give 5 to A and 6 to B. Is it clear now? So essentially what happens is, what scanf does is, whatever input you type on your console, it will try to tokenize it. Tokenize as in, it will try to divide it into different logical entities. And the most common way to divide this is some kind of space character. Your space is actually called as white space, by the way. What we usually call as space, it is called white space. So space characters include white space, tab, /n, the new line. They are all space characters. So scanf is written in such a way that it cannot take any input in which there are two tokens. In between the two tokens there is some kind of uh, space character. Does that make sense? That basically, if I want to uh, uh, I don't think you can remove the behavior. You can define your own scanf, so you can call it your own scanf, okay? And then you should expect that the user who uses your scanf does not include stdio.h, okay? Because otherwise there will be a conflict between your scanf and that scanf. So you will receive some error, some warning, scanf is already defined, so something like that. But you can of course define your own scanf. That is fine. So this also, Aman, we will study when we have a look at pointers. Okay, so there is a reason why we put that ampersand. So actually, pointers is a very simultaneously a very powerful as well as a very controversial uh, concept that C and C++ have, right? So some people feel that pointers are so strong they should not be given in the hands of normal developers. Yes, Vanshdeep, that is what ampersand represents address. But as I said, I have not yet talked about pointers. So I'm not going to tell you what ampersands are as of now. Just remember that they are a part of uh, your syntax. Okay. um, so anyhow, I'll just answer that query again. So basically the problem with using scanf for entering strings is that the moment you have any space character, it could be white space, it could be tab, it could be enter, scanf simply understands that this is the end of it, this is the end of your input. So that is why you don't use scanf to usually take strings as input. So there are some options out there. In fact, this was your homework. You're supposed to figure out what are the options to get S. That is your homework. You have to figure it out. Okay, so let's. Is it clear? Shall we move to the next question? Okay. So let's Nitik, let's not get into the regex as part of as of now. We'll talk about it. So are there any more queries related to get S? I mean, which question were we discussing? Just a minute. The question number 1 and 2 are over. Are any queries about question number 1 and 2? Please ask. Otherwise, shepherds, please move to question number 3.
Okay, sir, I think it's legal to write this code. The size of the array will remain 10 throughout the program.
Yeah, so there is a discussion on this in the slides as well, that the current compilers will not complain about this. Okay, and that is why C as a language has evolved a lot. Uh, the original C that was there, it had many more restrictions on a program that are not really a binding, that you cannot you can or cannot do those things today. It's up to you basically. So one of those things was, uh, for example, one of those things was that if you want to use a particular variable, you can only declare it at the beginning of the program. You cannot declare variables anywhere at random. But the modern day compilers are more forgiving. They allow you to declare variables anywhere. Similarly, when you declare an array, uh, in the initial versions, it had to be a constant. You cannot actually use a variable to provide the size of the array. But basically these days the compilers are far more forgiving. So in modern day this is actually legal. In the standard C, the original C that came up with, this was not allowed. But in either cases, whether it is allowed or not, as uh, Yashvardhan said, even so, this statement is not going to have any effect on this statement. Okay, so please make sure you understand this, that by changing the value of size, you cannot change the value, the size of the array. This is the idea that you have to understand. Okay, so any queries you can ask your shepherds now.
Sir, can you say it again, sir?
Okay, so which part didn't you get? What part should I?
Array size, sir.
Array size. So the idea is that the size of the array becomes fixed the moment you declare it. Okay, after that the size of the array can never be changed. Okay, under no circumstances can you change the size of the array. So in this particular case, the only leeway, only relaxation that the compiler is giving me is that instead of writing something like 10, I can write the name of a variable, and the variable is an integer type variable. So this is allowed. In the modern day compilers, this is allowed. However, it doesn't matter, what exactly happens to this variable after the declaration. The variable's value can change to anything else, but that doesn't mean that it is going to have an effect on array. Okay, you can do whatever you want with size, but array doesn't get affected afterwards. This is what I was trying to tell you. Okay, is
Yes,
it
sir. Thank you.
okay? Any more queries on this, or you can ask your shepherds if you have a query. I just wanted to add something more to it, that it is not really something that was available for C programmers from the beginning. So for example, I have used a compiler that would slap you on the face if you try something like this. But yeah, modern day compilers are far more forgiving, and they'll let you do this. So anyhow, if you have any queries, you can ask your shepherds. Otherwise, we can move to the next question. This I think everyone knows, but still, just to clarify, question 4.
So the index first index of an array is 0, and if the size of array is say, n, then the last index will be n minus 1.
Yep. Any queries on this? I guess no.
What is the last index? N minus 1.
Is it a query?
Tulsi, can you say that again?
Yes, sir. I'm asking that the last index is n minus 1.
Yes,
Yes.
last index will
If
be
Yes.
n minus 1.
if n is the size.
Okay. Can we have minus 1 as an index from backwards, like
No,
minus 1?
No,
it's fixed
Vanshika.
at 0.
No, we cannot have -1.
We have to start from
No,
0.
Starts from
from the
0 itself.
from the back. I'm asking from the back. Can we have minus 1, minus 2? Because I have seen in Python we have like two indexes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and minus 1, minus 2, minus 3 from backwards. That's why I'm asking.
I guess
No, it is
that's
not,
a
sir.
Python thing.
Yeah.
C or even C++ doesn't really have that.
Okay.
So, just for the guys, don't get confused. So, -1, -2, they are not really -1, -2. What they basically mean is, -1 means size -1, okay, and -2 means size -2. Okay, it's kind of a shortcut in languages like Python, but this shortcut is not available in C, C++. Okay, so don't get confused. There is nothing like -1, -2. There is never really anything like -1th index of an array. It is just a shortcut to basically start counting from backwards instead of from the front. Okay, so that is a kind of convention. It's not something that actually happens. There is no -1th index in array. Okay, so don't get confused. This was the only point. So yeah, Anurag has a query. Would anyone like to answer that?
Uh, Anurag, we cannot define an array without declaring its size beforehand in C and C++. I don't know about Python. Maybe there's a way to do that, but in C and C++ we can do that. We have to we have to declare the size of the array.
So actually, Anurag, this is allowed in only one particular condition where you actually define, if where you initialize the array simultaneously. Okay, so if you do something like this, for example.
Well, that actually declares the size itself.
Yeah, that is what. So it's like implicitly giving the size. Okay, um, uh, one way is you write the size explicitly, something like this. Right? So this is explicitly giving the size, and in the first case it is implicit, right? So the compiler can count the number of variables, and that will be assigned. So there, by the way, even in C++, this is exactly the same. You cannot just leave an array like this. The only thing is, because what happens in C++ is that you use the new operator. Okay, so that's, I mean, you'll have to give the value at the time of new, um, but it is because the new operator is not there. um, the two things are merged here, right? So in C, you have to give the size either implicitly or explicitly. That is the idea. Any more queries, or otherwise we will just talk about character arrays and we are done.
Sir, if we define all the other values and do not define a of 0, so it will take garbage value in a of 0.
Yes, yes. Garbage values. I did not talk about garbage values explicitly, but first of all, you're talking about the this particular case. Uh, this one. Oh, I cannot select anything in the chat. I'll have to
No,
type.
sir, sir. In general,
In
sir,
general, yeah. In general, it is true. In general, if you want, you can basically declare an n-sized array, and you can only store values at, let us say, certain indices. Then the rest of indices anyhow get garbage values. This is not just for arrays; it is for any variable in general. If you create a variable but do not assign a value to it, and then try to let us say do a printf over the value, it will simply give you some garbage. Okay.
and sir, what if we provide a value to a of n? So we write a of n is equal to 5.
So
It will
that
throw
means
there or what?
when the size is n of the array.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, so I mean, this is why I wanted you guys to wait till pointers. So what happens is when you write something like this, a of I, um, the way it gets interpreted is something like this. It basically means there is a starting address, okay, somewhere in the memory, and that starting address means a, okay. And when I say I, it essentially means go ith times forward from a, and whatever value is there, just use it. Okay, so that is why I don't want to introduce pointers right now, but this is the idea, that ai gets interpreted in a certain fashion. Now as far as I know, again, the recent compilers may have added a check for it, but the earlier compilers that we had, it will not give you an error, okay, because it will still get interpreted to some address within the memory space. Most probably, it will be within the process's memory space. So you will be allowed to access that memory. It's just that the behavior is completely undefined. You'll probably not be able to define what exactly happens if you try to access an, or you try to write to an. That is something that will be dependent on your particular program. That but in fact, this is some of the reasons why C is also dangerous. That it has very little checks. Okay, it expects the developer, the users, to be very disciplined. If you are not disciplined, you might actually run into a very serious problem. Okay, but to answer your query, you can try to run it on some recent compiler. My best guess is there won't be an error. Okay, it won't cause an error, but it might cause some unpredictable behavior. Okay, so last query, guys, and then we are done. Last question, sorry, and then we are done. So Shepherds, please take it. The last question, Shepherds.
Our
Any,
char array
yeah,
is
yeah.
different from other arrays. So yeah, the char arrays is different from other arrays in terms of, like, we have one null character. I guess all of you must have read about it in arrays. So the null character is basically used to terminate a char array, that is your string. Is that clear? If you have any doubts regarding this one, you can ask it. No doubts?
Okay, so Vanshdeep, char arrays are not really strings, but we use them as strings in C++. They are still arrays, but they have some extra functionality added to them to make them easier to use as strings.
So I used an example in the previous lecture. I'll just use it here. So you guys know this, right? Uh, uh, what is it? Photon, is it? Who which has dual nature, wave and particle. What is it? You know, there is some particle.
Electron. Yeah.
Electron. So it
Yes,
is
sir.
yeah. So it is both a wave and a particle, right? So the same thing is that character arrays can okay, all particles. Sorry, I revise my science with you guys, and sometimes I do not uh, I do not remember it correctly. So anyhow, so that is same dual nature is there, that character arrays can behave in a dual fashion. They are always arrays, right? You can always use them like any other array, but they can also be used to store strings. And as Tejas has pointed out, there is an additional requirement that if you are dealing with strings, basically the size of the array is one less than what is usable. So if you create an array of size n, you should only store strings up to n minus 1 characters, because the nth character, the last character of your string, has to be a slash backslash 0. Okay, so that is the only thing that is, and the other difference in syntax. Can someone pick up the difference in syntax? Some shepherd can answer.
You can initialize character arrays with double quotes and strings inside them. Can't really do that with integer or double arrays. That's a special functionality for character arrays. Basically,
And one more thing,
okay, yeah, go ahead, please.
I guess one more difference is that if you actually have to store only three characters, then you need the size of the character array to be four for fourth fourth place for storing the null character.
One more thing, I think that the strings can be addressed using a single variable, while char arrays have to be addressed separately, like using index.
Sorry, I did not get that point.
So it's like when we use any other array, so we have to mention which element we are talking about, but in string, we can use a single name and address the entire uh, array.
Uh, i- so yes, I mean, so there are functions which basically operate on the whole of the array. That is, if that is what you're trying to say. Yes, there are functions that can operate on the complete array. But then there are functions which you can write your own function that can operate, let us say, on a complete integer array as well. I think the only syntax part that I was referring to was this thing that they just talked about. So only for character arrays, you can use the double quotes. But in that case, it becomes a string automatically. So the slash 0 character gets stored at the end. You can always use the usual braces way to initialize a character array as well. But in that case, it's not really a string. It is basically a character array. But as I said, you can always define in stuff like this using the code. So this is the difference. That is the only difference that was there. Okay. Yeah. So Nitigya has a question. Would anyone like to answer?
Yes, Nitigya, there is a difference between scanf syntax, but that's because of the, I guess, data type difference, not other than that. But we don't really use scanf for inputting character arrays like Sil said before.
Like for integers we use %d, and for characters I guess it was %s. Am I right?
Percentage C.
That for string.
Yeah, it's %c
Okay.
for individual characters, and so that is another advantage. So %s is another format specifier that is specifically for strings. So the idea is that if you want one way to input a string is that you input it character by character. So then you can use %c, 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 something like this, or you can basically give a %s and then the name of the array. So I guess this was probably what Ravi was trying to say. I'm sorry if this was what he was trying to say. So yes, this is another difference, that with %s specifier you can do some things like this. Okay, so guys, I guess we will um you can use character arrays for different things actually, Himanshu. So for example, one of the most common uses of character arrays is something known as bitmaps. Um, I won't tell you what bitmaps are. Okay, just go and read what bitmaps are. I'm just typing this here. Bitmaps. Okay, just read what are bitmaps, and you will understand one possible way where you can use character array without them being used as a string. Uh, there's also a difference in percent. Sorry, Nitik, I could not understand the question.
Sir, when we use scanf for integer arrays, we define ampersand and then a if we have an integer array. But when we use a character, we don't write ampersand. I guess.
Yeah, so that is the same thing that I discussed, right? Because A itself, right, the name of the array itself is actually an address. Okay, you don't have to put ampersand there. Again, you will understand all these things when we study pointers. Okay. Input for an array, you can take input for an array. You'll have to take inputs for a general array. You will have to take input for each element individually. Okay, so you will have to store each value individually. Just for character arrays, if you are planning to use them as strings, there is a method called getS. So the
It will.
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Yes, you can answer.
I'm answering to Akshay. If you define a character array of size 4 and provide only 3 values, it will store a garbage value at the fourth position unless you. Okay, if you define the size to be 4 and give 3 values, I guess it will store a null character at the fourth index.
So that is what I am asking. It will by default assume it to be a string or a array.
No. That is right. So the way you store it matters. If you are using a function like getS, then yes, /0 will be stored. If you are taking inputs from with %s modifier of scanf, then also the /0 will be stored. But if you are entering these values one by one in the character array, right? So %c, 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 like this, then the last character will not be a /0.
And so
Yeah.
if we store them one by %c and then after that %c.
Yeah, so that then /0 won't be stored. /0 is stored only when you treat it like a string,
String.
and you use some string function like getS to input them. Okay. Otherwise, they behave just like a normal array.
Fine, sir. So only one case that when we use getS, then only it will by default consider it to be a string.
You can also use %s with scanf. Conditions applied, that your string does not have a space or a space character. If your string does not have a space character, you can also use scanf. That too will also put a /0 at the end.
And so scanf with %c.
%c will take only a single character as input. You cannot give for example, ARR as the type of variable. You'll have to give
No, sir.
amp.
So in this condition, it will not put the \0.
If you are taking different percent c's, right? So let us say you'll have to write %c space %c space %c, something like this. Then yes, then the slash zero will not be added.
Okay, sir.
Okay, and we can take this up tomorrow as well. Tomorrow's lecture is very short lecture. I have already put it. It's only about 10 minutes lecture, so you can watch it, and we can take up more discussion on array tomorrow. Okay. Um, so yeah, let's keep your queries for tomorrow, guys. We'll meet up tomorrow, and we'll pick it up from here. And
Sir,
yeah,
I had a separate doubt.
yeah, go ahead.
So, many students in the group don't know how to compile using GCC in terminal.
See, Dhruv, I really don't know, like, why is it so? I have spent a lot of time.
I
Uh,
have the same question, sir, actually.
so you guys, what I mean, you guys don't understand the syntax of GCC, is it?
No, sir, I think they actually don't know what even to write in the terminal to compile it.
Is it really hard? GCC space the name of the program dot C? I mean, I understand that if it requires another library like math library, then you have to add -lm. But I mean, why is it so hard to use GCC? I'm still not sure. I took one complete week just for Bash, in so that you guys can understand more about shells. Um, and even after that, if you guys are not able to use GCC, it's surprising to me. Let me be very honest.
Sir, I don't know if others will hate me for saying this, but I have several like friends of mine or students that ask me, please teach me Bash or please tell me what is Bash till now.
Yeah, so that is the question. I mean, uh, see, the whole point of these discussion sessions is that you study on time and then you come and discuss. Okay, that is, you understand that I was only given 3 hours of lecturing every week, but I am putting in more hours. Okay, I for every so usually the time that it takes is something like this. For 1 minute of lecture that I give you, I have to give at least 3 to 4 to 5 minutes of my time to prepare like 1 minute lecture for you. So if it is, for example, a 10-minute lecture, I would have probably spent more than 45 to 50 minutes to prepare that. So you can understand that in a week I am spending far too many hours than I was supposed to. I could have actually given you live lectures straight away, right? 3 hours of lecturing and done. But I decided to make these lectures more of a tutorial so that you can ask your queries. Okay, but if someone doesn't wish to study on time, so this is the problem, right? They did not study the Bash when we were covering it in the class, now they are lagging, right? And despite my best efforts, I cannot I cannot punish you
Sir,
for not studying.
so I think the main problem is that you are putting in the tutorials, sir. You should take the live class actually, at
uh,
least one live class. In the extra class, you can take it because there are students that don't even bother. I'm not gonna take out names, but there are students that don't even bother opening the mails, I guess.
uh yeah, see, the problem, I have no issues with taking live classes. It will actually save my time. But uh, but I feel from your learning perspective, what will happen if, for example, during the live class you do not have internet connection, or something goes wrong. You won't be able to do anything in the live lecture. So you won't be able to resolve your queries easily in live lectures, because my lecture itself will take 40 minutes, 45 minutes. Here, even with 1 hour of discussion time, we run out of time, right? I mean, uh,
Sir, sir,
Sir, I can.
I don't think the live lectures will be a decent solution. Sir, I think it is mostly because people are not practicing on their own. So I think you said that you will give us some questions to practice. I think that will, since they don't have a questions, they don't solve them. So when you give a little bit of questions per week, relating to the topic, I think they will, most of the people at least will try to solve them.
Yes, sir.
Fine.
Give assignments, give
Yes,
assignments.
sir. As Mohit said, if someone really wants to study, I think the right now what are you doing is better than taking live classes.
Yeah, yeah, if you guys feel that practice questions are going to help, I'm ready to give more practice questions. But let me tell you, I will not evaluate them. So they are only for your own practice. Okay, so I will give out practice questions. Um, and you know, then I have no issues. Let us try this as well. So at the end of this week, I will give you one practice set. Okay, so let us see how many people are interested in practicing. I will give at least 5 to 8 questions. uh, Read those questions, try to make those programs on your own. uh, Unfortunately, I do not have the bandwidth to be able to evaluate your submissions. Uh, I only have 6 TAs and 240 students, so I do not get enough time to give you a individual attention. I'm still trying my best over emails to give you individual attentions. I have actually uh, for some students, I have asked them to install team viewer, and I have connected to their system, and I have tried to resolve their problems. Or I have connected with them over WhatsApp and other mechanisms, and I have tried to resolve their problems. So I am trying my best to provide as much individual attention as I can, but then I also have practical limitations. So fine. I will give another practice set. Let us hope that students learn. And guys, please understand that your lab is the actual place where you learn. The lab problems that I'll give you. They are not straightforward. The idea is that during the 1 hour of lab, so it's not like you open up my lectures and your lab problem is done. um, uh, yeah, Anand, I do look at emails. Don't worry. I mean, it is possible that I sometimes reply back to your emails by a delay of a few hours. Um, but I do reply to each and every email. Okay, don't think that I will not reply to your mails. I reply to each and every email that I get. Sometimes there is a gap because I have a lot of workload actually. But don't worry, I will try my best to help you out in whatever way I can. So yeah, so yes, we'll sure, Sanskriti, you can use any coding environment that you want. It's just that you have to run the final program on Bash. Okay, I'm still being stringent with this because I understand if I don't be strict, you guys you guys will start using Turbo C++ or something like that. Okay, that I don't want. I want you guys to start learning, right? That is why I'm enforcing certain things. I'm forcing you guys to use Linux. I'm forcing you guys uh, to use GCC. You understand that I'm not getting anything out of it. I have to answer so many emails because of this. I could have simply said use whatever you want, and I could have gotten away. But I want this because if I don't force you, you guys won't learn, right? And my overall idea is that you should learn something at the end of this course. Even if I am the bad person, it's fine with me. But maybe a few years from now you will realize that why I was doing it. Sometimes you don't realize what is good for you at the same time. But the idea is you should learn something from this whole scenario. Okay, so please, please try your best to learn. I'm trying to do more, but I will prepare a practice set. I will give it to you. And let's just stick with this model, this model for now. I don't think live classes, Dhruv, will actually help because if
It's okay,
somebody,
sir.
right, so if somebody doesn't want to learn, I cannot force that person. I can only help those people who want to learn. So let's stick with this model.
So one last question.
Yeah.
So about the last batch related lab class, was it a graded lab like the exam that took? Was it a graded exam?
Okay.
Yes.
So I have not yet decided on it. See, most probably I will not grade it. Most probably. I did not said this to you before the lab because I wanted you guys to take it seriously. So there is a good chance that I will not include it in the evaluation. Um, but uh, Tia, actually the TAs had some other work. They are also having a lot of problems. They have their end semester exams from 8th of January, so they were also busy. I have asked them again to send the marks. Actually, they have finalized the marks, but they have not collated it properly. So someone has done it in a text file, someone has done it in some Google Drive file. They have to collate it together, put it at one place, and then we can release the marks. So
So,
maybe, yeah, go ahead.
sir, I want to ask that our whole lab time, which we like, what we have done, that the marks only depends on the demo class, because if we are also like we have done the lab thing which we have got, and if you are not like डेमो सही से नहीं दे पाए हम लोग तो हमारे मार्क्स नहीं होंगे फिर
देखिए डेमो का पार्ट क्या है आप समझिए. द ओवरऑल आइडिया ऑफ डेमो इज कि आपने जो भी करके सबमिट किया है आपको उसको एक्सप्लेन करना आना चाहिए. मैं ये एक्सपेक्ट नहीं कर रहा हूँ कि आपको वो पूरी प्रॉब्लम आती हो, आपको वो पूरा एरिया आता हो, ठीक है ना. लेकिन आपने जो सबमिशन किया है you should be able to explain this is the whole idea of a demo. Okay, demo is not about figuring out how good you are. Demo is about figuring out whether whatever you have submitted that is done by you or you have simply copied it from someone and submitted it. Okay.
Sir,
Yes.
can you please explain this to TAs?
Yes,
I'm
because
not.
in the demo class, my TA started asking me few questions, and when I said that I can explain what I've written, he was like, he doesn't want me to explain and instead answer the questions he's asking me.
Yes, sir, same happened with me.
Okay. Okay. So you're saying that the TAs are asking questions that are beyond your submissions, is it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Like
Exactly.
Yes, sir. Same happened.
my TA asked me about .sh file extension. I explained, but he was asking about the exact definition, and I
Okay.
couldn't give the exact definition, and he just asked me to leave. So
Okay, okay. So see, the issue is, even the TAs are, it's a new experience for them as well. They were not doing a TA duty that was anywhere even, remotely similar to what they are doing now. Okay. They told me that they were TAs of Dhananjay sir. So I think they were doing something related to mathematics before. So for them also it is the first experience. So it is possible that they probably did not understand what I told them. I will remind them again, don't worry. Okay, so I will tell them specifically that the demo is not about your knowledge of the area. It is the idea is to simply check that whatever you have submitted, it is done by you only. This is the only idea of demo. Okay, we are not really expecting that you solve everything. We are not expecting that you know everything. The idea is if they see something in your code, uh, they should ask questions and figure out whether it is done by you or not. Okay, um, uh, so yeah, so Ashleysha has said that CS1 group received it today. So they are working on the marks. Okay, so they will send you the marks. They are also very burdened, right? Let me tell you, in IIT Kanpur, uh, this particular subject that I am teaching, do you know how many people are employed to do this? We have around 600 students in one batch. Like, you have 240, we have 600. But there is one instructor, that is main professor. Then there are at least 3 or 4 other instructors. So they are also professors, but they take tutorials. There are 3 or 4 senior PhD students, okay, who are basically the head TAs. Then the whole of M.Tech first year computer science batch is the TA for that course. The whole of M.Tech first year is the TA for that batch. Okay, this is how this course is run in IIT Kanpur. So you can understand that here I am the only instructor and I have only 6 TAs and we have to manage the whole thing. So sometimes it gets a bit too overwhelming. Um, but yeah, so that is why I'm also not pressurizing my TAs too much, because I understand that they might have other they are already probably overworked. But yes, this part I agree. I will talk to the TAs about the demos, right? That the demos should always be based on whatever you have submitted and not on the general area. Okay, so that I will talk to them. I don't worry about it. Okay, right. Okay, any more things? I mean, I have already overshot your time by a long distance, but we will continue this discussion tomorrow. Okay, guys.
Sir, I have a query about labs. Uh, so
do you
that
have
so you said partial submissions are acceptable.
yeah.
So if we are stuck in the very early phase of the question, early phase of the assignment that you've given, then
Mhm.
what to do in the demo exactly to prove that we know the rest of the part and just got stuck
So
in the early phase only.
yeah, so then if you are probably stuck at a very early phase, then what exactly will you submit? Whatever you have submitted, some questions based on that. So if I am at the place of the TAs, I will simply ask, okay, what is what are current float double? Then I mean, these are the only questions I can ask, right? If you have only declared variables and not done anything else,
Yes.
what can I ask, right? Um, so I have been a TA, by the way, too, right? So my first teaching assignment duty in my life was being a TA of this course only, in IIT Kanpur. So I have been through these phases. So it's up to the that is why I said, right, that different TAs have different personalities. Maybe your TA whom you found this time was a bit harsh. That is why I have decided to shuffle the TAs. You won't get the same TA in the next lab. Okay, there will be some other TA for you. So maybe it is mostly like a personality thing, right? Different TAs have different personalities. Some might be harsh, so some might start asking you questions that are a little more beyond your assumption. Some might be more lenient. They might simply ask you one or two questions and they'll say, okay, theek hai, ho gaya, right? So this is more about their personalities, right? I don't want to intrude their personalities. I only give them very vague guidelines, and then the idea is that you won't get the same TA again, right? I mean, again, maybe after 5 or 6 labs you will get the same TA. But the idea is that the good TAs and the bad TAs will keep on getting shuffled. So sometimes you'll get the good TAs, sometimes you'll get the bad TA. You have to manage, right? I mean, uh, I'll talk to them, but we'll have to somehow manage this system. There is really no perfect way to run this. Um, I'm trying my best to try and keep this as objective as possible.
Okay.
Yeah, to be honest, zero. Uh, I mean, zero is like a bit too harsh. I can't say no to this, but yeah, I mean, usually it should not be zero, right? And by the way, when you receive your marks, you are entitled to have to raise a query. Okay, don't feel that this is some kind of place where there is no space for dissent, right? So let us say you receive your marks and you have received a zero or something that you are not expecting. You are allowed to raise a query with your TA. Okay, you can drop an email to your TA and say that, sir, I did so much, or I did that and did do what. Why did I get a zero, something like that. It is perfectly allowed for you to do this, right? So okay, so that is fine. And let us wrap up now, guys. We'll talk tomorrow again. Okay, thank you, bye.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.